My parents say it turned out to be a more expensive graduation present than they thought because obviously it's led to all the travel stuff I do now. Now I've been to a lot of countries now and started a whole business out of it. So just really loved it. Met a lot of great people on that trip. It really motivated me. I was like, you know what? Life is too short. Obviously, we see that with this pandemic, like nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Now's the time to do this if I want to make it happen. Tangier, Morocco. Perfect view, like early in the morning, we're watching the sunrise over the water, over the Mediterranean, just sipping on some coffee. That was pretty amazing. I always say my number one is probably New Zealand. Yeah, I loved it down there. I think I spent about 10 days there. Got to travel most of the country and just absolutely fell in love with it.
Welcome to the Winging It Travel podcast with me, James Hammond, where every Monday I'll be joined by guests to talk about their travel stories, travel tips, backpacking advice, and so much more. Right now, I'm taking the podcast on the road travelling with me, so tune in every week for short form episodes detailing all my travels alongside my Monday guest episode. Are you a backpacker, traveller, gap year student, or simply someone who loves to travel? Then this is the podcast for you. This is a casual, informative podcast designed for you to inspire you to travel. There'll be stories to tell, tips to share, and experiences to inspire. Welcome to the show. Let's get into the episode. Hello and welcome to this week's episode where I'm joined by Kyle Rasmussen from the Our Travel Experiences podcast. Kyle is an avid traveller, having travelled to around 30 countries since he graduated in 2014, and he's nearly travelled to every state in the US. Kyle has recently released a book called Travel Tips, a 20-something's comprehensive guide for travelling in the modern world. So we're going to talk about all that today. Kyle, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to be here and be on this side of the podcast table for once.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We've both got our coffees on the go as it's slightly early for a podcast.
Yep. Glad you're
yeah.
here.
Yeah, we're doing this because of my disorganization. But how are you doing and where are you based right now?
Yeah, I'm doing awesome. Like I said, excited to be here. I'm currently based out of Yakima, Washington, in basically central Washington state.
Oh, you're pretty close. I didn't realise that.
Yeah. Yeah, not too far away.
Yeah, just over the border. Oh, all right, fair enough. Yeah.
Uh,
I'm looking forward to visiting Washington late in the summer.
yeah. It's beautiful, August, September, perfect time to be here.
Got it. Okay. Does it rain a lot like here?
Where I'm at, it doesn't rain too much. In Seattle, it does rain quite a bit. But there's the Cascade Mountain Range that
Mm,
basically cuts the state in half.
yeah.
And so that kind of creates a rain shadow on the east side where I'm at.
Lucky guy.
Yeah. Yeah, we did just have I want to say like 2 days ago, we had this crazy thunder and lightning storm in the middle of the night. It was pretty wild.
Oh, yeah, because we're going east today. That's why we're doing this early, because we're driving basically across Canada, but it starts today. We're only going 4.5 hours east, but that goes to the Soyuz area, if you know Soyuz,
Mm.
just over the border.
Mhm.
And down there, there's been like huge thunderstorms. So that kind of correlates to where you are, right? Roughly.
Yeah, yeah. Same kind of like geographic
Yeah,
area, I guess.
should be interesting. See what's in store. But
Yeah.
great weather, I think, today. So we'll see.
There you go.
So we're going to talk sort of three parts in this episode. Going to dive into early life and travels to see how travel came into your life and what it was like as a kid. And then we're going to go into modern travels, so as an adult. And then we're going to finish on your podcast, your book, and also blogging, website, and social media. So that's a three-pronged attack. And my
Perfect.
first question is going to be, where did you grow up? And was travel part of your life early doors?
Yeah. So I did grow up in Washington in Yakima. So this is my hometown. Travel really was a huge part of our life growing up. Really vividly remember going to California many times. We went to Oregon. We would travel around Washington for sports. I remember we went to Nevada a couple times for
Oh,
sports and different
nice.
things.
Yeah.
We visited family in California. We would always take a road trip to Wyoming every year because our family hunts. yeah, just so many memories traveling together as a family, going to Disneyland, Hawaii, all those sorts of things. Those are very like some of my favorite memories as a kid. So really from a young age, it was travel was a big part of my life.
And that was like local, as in, but like US travel.
Yeah, yeah, we really, I would say like Denver, Colorado was probably the farthest we went away
Hmm.
from Washington State. I guess we did go to Hawaii once, but most of the travel was around Washington, Oregon, California, in those areas.
God, I mean, what an area to travel in. Like some people dream
Yeah,
of that.
yeah. I mean, there's so much, yeah, right here.
God,
Yeah, yeah. It was great.
that whole West Coast just seems magical. We just can't miss it out. So it's like the one
Yeah,
thing we are doing in the US, because San Diego up to Vancouver would be an awesome little
yeah.
trip up.
That's an amazing road trip. I mean, I went to school in San Diego, and so I've made the drive from San Diego back up to Washington and back and forth many
Mm.
times. There's so many beautiful things to see along the way. I think there's like if you kind of go a little bit out of the way, there's like uh 10 national parks that you could visit along the way.
Well, I guess the
Yeah.
obvious ones, right? Yosemite and stuff like that. Zion, I guess, is one. All those.
Yeah, you got Yosemite, Channel Islands are out there, Lassen Volcanic National Park, Mount Rainier, the North Cascades if you're going up to
Ah,
Vancouver,
yeah, yeah,
not too far out of the way.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch.
God, one area.
Death Valley.
Of course, yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sensational area. So I guess you call it lucky, right, to grow up in that area to experience all that. Because I guess if you lived in the middle of the US, I don't know, Kansas. I mean, Kansas State has obviously got its own stuff, but like, you
hmm
might dream of going to like the West Coast or even the East Coast to see that different type of geography from like south to north. But I guess it's quite far for them to do that.
Yeah, honestly, we'll probably get more into this, but I think it really took me moving away and traveling to all these places around the world and the rest of the US to really appreciate what we had here in
Mm,
Washington State. I wanted nothing more than to get out of Washington and go elsewhere, anywhere else I could.
fair.
And then, after years of traveling, I'm like, there's so much here. It's very beautiful and it's a very great place to live. There's so much here that we can do and see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. San Diego, you said, a little bit different to where you're from? Must be a little bit. San Diego's
Yeah,
obviously on the beach.
vastly
And
different.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
After I graduated from high school, I went to San Diego State for college, and I really was like, I wanted to get out. I wanted to never come back to my hometown, and I we had taken a trip like a couple years before to San Diego because we have family in the area, and I just fell in love with it. I mean, it's
Mm.
75 degrees every day. It's sunny. You got the beach. The mountains are close by. It was a big city, which was something that was interested in
Yeah,
because Yakima's a smaller town, and so I was like, "Yep, I'm in. This looks amazing." And so yeah, I went to San Diego State, and I really enjoyed that. I think being there, one away from family, but also in a different part of the country that had different places around it compared to where I was from.
hmm,
Had a lot of opportunities in college to travel, and it was really I really am happy and content with the decision that I made to go there. I think it really helped me get to see the world.
right. And what did you study in San Diego?
Yeah, so I ended up getting a degree in financial planning. And then I got a minor in international studies. Yeah, I originally started as a hospitality major and found out very quickly that that wasn't for me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was interested in travel, but not interested in doing the hospitality route. So
Fair.
I very quickly switched to financial planning and graduated with that.
So let's get into your travel mind. When you finished high school before university, was travel prevalent, or was it just like the next thing is university? That's your goal. That's your where your mind is going.
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I said, we had been traveling a lot in the sort of immediate area in the Western US. And when I graduated from high school, I had the opportunity. It was sort of a graduation present from my family, but also it was something that my French teacher in high school offered some students to go on this trip, and so I got to go with my cousin who graduated with me, and then two other people in our French class in my senior year of high school, and we got to go with our French teacher we went to Switzerland, Italy, Monaco, France, and Spain. It was like a 10 or 11 day trip.
Wow.
So that was my first time going out of the country, and
Yeah, yeah.
that really, I already loved travel,
Mm.
and was very like, I want to keep traveling and doing all of that. But then going internationally for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, there is so much more out here to see and do.
Yeah, and your French teacher can speak pretty much in most of those countries, I'd imagine. So that helps as well.
Yeah, yeah, it helps. And we ended up meeting with like a bigger group of people. So there's probably, I want to say, maybe like 20 high
Mm.
school age kids from around the US who met up in Switzerland, and then we all went on the trip together. And so then we had a trip leader who I believe was from Germany,
Yeah.
um, and he led us around on the trip as well. So yeah, it was really awesome. I mean, we met people from all over the US because of that, and then we got to meet a lot of people from many different countries too.
Yeah, that's awesome because you've got some international travel in quite early there. It's a good head start.
My parents say it turned out to be a more expensive graduation present than they thought, because obviously it's led to all the travel stuff I do now. I've been to a lot of countries now and started a whole business out of it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's expensive in terms of money,
yeah,
inexpensive in terms of experience.
yeah, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Absolutely. Okay, so then you went to obviously at university, and then did you travel in and amongst university? Because I guess you get quite a few months off a year, and also you could probably work as well.
Yeah, yeah. So then, yeah, I came back from that trip and then went into university. It was my freshman year of college, of university, over spring break. So it would have been end of March 2015. I didn't want to do the whole like spring break party thing. That's not me.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to go home either. And so I was like, hey, mom and dad, there's this opportunity to go teach English over spring break in another country. What do you guys say to me possibly doing that? Luckily enough, they were willing and supportive of it. And so I got to spend about 10 days traveling through Guatemala, and we taught English for I think 5 of those days,
Hmm.
up in Chichicastenango in the mountains of Western Guatemala, and that was a very rewarding experience. It was sad to see just how little they had there.
Yeah.
I mean, they had basically nothing. Like the school was just a hodgepodge of different things, and we got to tour a family's house that really was just one big room that like 10 people slept in.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was really really impactful, and then to see the smile on their faces when we were teaching them, and we brought school supplies to them, and they were just so happy. They kicked my ass in soccer a lot,
Oh, good.
even the
Yeah,
little kids.
yeah. I'd expect
uh,
that.
yeah. But yeah, it was so much fun, so rewarding, and that really changed my life. I was like, I feel like I have a responsibility to travel and to share these experiences with the world, and help make the world a better place through my traveling and sharing it with others, and hopefully, helping the lives of everyone I meet along the way.
Yeah, that's a good mantra to have because I think it's important to share what you experience because people need to hear that because it's full of negativity. A lot of the
Yeah.
news or even any media, really, even like social media, you get opposite ends of you know countries that have a bad rap. So very important to share those experiences that you have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you get little tidbits from social media or the news or whatever. Usually, a lot of times it's negative, or sometimes even people will make it look even way better than it is too.
Yeah,
That's definitely been more and more these days, I feel like. But I think until you really go to a place and get immersed in that culture, you're never really gonna fully understand what it's like. But I honestly, like, through my travels, I feel that most people just want to live their lives, be happy, and no one's trying to do anything too crazy. But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
people just want to be happy, and if you come in and you're friendly, you're nice, you're trying to learn and understand and be respectful, you're gonna get that reciprocated to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's underrated, and people don't realize that. Anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
At this time, though, you must have been thinking about, well, okay, I'm going to graduate soon, and you probably, I'd imagine, want to travel more. So,
Yeah.
how are you starting to maybe plan a life, or maybe more short term? How can I go and see more countries? What are you starting to do in terms of getting that done?
Yeah, so I guess I should continue with the travels in university, because
Oh yeah,
that led to more and more. So that was my freshman year, and then I think like the next year, so like spring 2016, I studied abroad for a semester in Sydney, Australia, which was
oh yeah.
amazing.
Hmm.
That provided opportunities to go through. I got to go through Southeast Asia for a couple weeks. Got to go to Fiji, New Zealand,
Hmm.
explore a lot of Australia. It was a blast, and I did a research project while I was there, which was really interesting. I want to say it probably would have been like late 2016, early 2017. I got to do 2 weeks over Christmas break or winter break to do basically like a cross cultural study. We did 1 week in Estonia and 1 week
Nice.
in Russia,
Yeah.
which was incredible, especially being in the wintertime over there. It was
Mm.
magical. But that was really fascinating to learn about relationships between those two countries. Yeah, I think that was all the international travel I got to do. But then I had a lot of opportunities on the various breaks that we had to travel, to Arizona, to different national parks in California,
Yeah.
um, around around that southwest U.S. And then I got to do a class one semester in Tijuana, Mexico,
Oh yeah.
where we got to explore different parts of the city and different aspects of it. So we got to meet a lot of different people and learn what it's like
Mm.
being a border town from the Mexican point of view,
Yeah.
which was really interesting. So all of those really, I guess, started shaping my love for travel more and more, and kind of opened my eyes to more opportunities as I progressed into adulthood as well.
Yeah. And interestingly, I want to know, how did you find Australia from an American perspective? Because we always are quite intrigued by this, I think, from UK, because we see obviously US as like big little brother, whichever way you want to term it.
Yeah.
But Australia is seen as a bit more recent, the whole story about us sending convicts over there. And now
Mhm.
it's I don't want to say a better country, but it's doing really well. And people
Yeah.
love going to Australia because it's hot, great economy, a lot of space. But like,
Mhm.
what's the relationship between Americans and Australians? How did you find it as an American?
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, I feel like Australia is like the fun uncle uh, of America and the UK. Like it is so remote from the rest of the world, I feel like. I mean, it is a long ways from everything.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that provides them with kind of a different mentality on the world. Relationships between the US and Australia are awesome, and
Yeah.
it's so hard to get there and get back from there. So a lot of people don't necessarily visit it
Mm.
very often from the US. But I loved it down there. The Australian people are great. They're a blast, especially if you get them drinking. It's it's
Yeah,
always
that's
a
not
good
hard.
time. I didn't realize how diverse it is down there,
Oh yeah.
especially in the bigger cities. I was
Mm.
like, wow, there's so many people from so many different backgrounds here. And also on my travels, I've realized that Australians love to travel. I
They
think they're
do.
like required to,
Yeah.
uh, like a month out of the year or something. So you'll always meet an Australian abroad. Yeah, I loved it down there.
Yeah, Australians are very much, and same as New Zealand Kiwis, they're very much encouraged to get out there. I think as part of their growing up process in maybe school, university, it's
Yeah,
always known as like the big thing to go and do once you've done your university degree. Where
yeah,
UK, it kind of is, but not as obvious, I don't think. But you have Europe on the door, so that's pretty close. But like you say,
yeah,
Australia is just, I mean, apart from New Zealand down the road, I mean, there's nothing else.
yeah.
It is a huge flight away.
Mhm. And I don't think people until you get there, I don't think you realize how big Australia actually is.
Huge.
Even just traveling in different parts of the country, it's a long ways to get to city.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much got to fly. You can road trip it. That'd be pretty cool road trip. Like, a lot of people do
yeah,
do that. Um,
yeah,
but that's you need some serious time because you can't rush that because it's too big, and also some money because it's not a cheap place to be.
hmm Yeah. I do know when I was there, I got to meet a lot of um, expats and people that were on working visas down there. The pay is really good down there for foreigners.
Yeah.
They do make pretty good money, even like bartending or being a barista or something like that. You can make really good money and get a lot of travel uh, during your time there.
Yeah, we kind of discussed this when I was there on a work visa about how unfair it is. Because if you are Australian and you're 16 and you want to get a job just working in a cafe or just like maybe in a shop or just like a little office
Mm.
job, you're still going to get $25 an hour, Australian dollars. And like,
Yeah.
imagine having that at that age. And if you're like sensible and you save it, no wonder they can travel because by the time they get to
Yeah.
21 after university and they've saved for 5 years, they can go for a couple of years.
Hmm.
It's just incredible how much you can earn from an early age there.
Yeah, that's huge. It gives them a lot of opportunities, like you said.
Yeah.
Also, I would probably travel a lot if I was Australian and lived there because literally everything can kill you down there. Um, so
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's nice to get away and not have to worry about dying every second of your day.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think here is annoying with the bears. You can't just
Yeah.
casually go for a walk sometimes. Oh, make sure there's bear spray or whatever. But yeah, Australia has all those things. Although I never saw anything in a year. I think it's blown out of proportion a little bit. But it is there, like snakes and
Yeah.
spiders and sharks.
I remember in my apartment that I stayed in like downtown Sydney, the way our like apartment worked, you could see one of the walls from my bedroom. I could see another wall that was outside of our like little patio area. And I remember one night looking out that window and seeing this giant cockroach that was probably this long, just hanging out on the wall. And I was like, wow, you don't see that in America.
No, yeah, we had a cockroach in our room in Kathmandu this year, and I was like, "What the hell do we do about that? That's huge, it's like that." And this guy just walked past our room, and he just flipped it out with his like a piece of paper, but I couldn't deal with it. It's too much. Cockroaches, no, no, I can deal with
Yeah,
some stuff, but not them.
yeah, not a fan.
Yeah. Okay, so you got a lot of traveling from high school to university, and then around university. So you graduated from university. Are you then thinking of a like a semi long term trip, like a 2 or 3 months, or did you go straight into working?
I really wanted to do like a 2 to 3 month trip before I started working. But it worked out that right at the start of 2018, as I was finishing up school, that I got an internship with a company called Northwestern Mutual, and it was basically like the perfect fit for me at the time. I knew that I wasn't really going to get the opportunity to do 2 to 3 months. It was going to be hard to make that happen and still keep the internship
Yeah.
and start my career on a good foot. I didn't get to do a big trip, but I did. I think I spent like a week and a half. Or I went to the East Coast. I went to Maryland, to Washington D.C., Virginia, for like 5 or 6 days right after I graduated, and then I took basically like a week to drive uh, back home to Yakima. So I went to all those national parks. I
Mm,
went out into Nevada a little bit, and just kind of made a meandering road trip back home over that
nice.
time.
Yeah.
But I still really wish that I could have made that happen to just take 3 months and disappear.
Still possible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely is possible. Okay, so we're gonna talk. I've got here like 3 countries at your 30 that you travel to up to this point that maybe you want to touch on that maybe is your favourites and maybe why. So, what's the
Yeah.
first country you'd mention?
So this is always such a hard question to
Yeah.
answer because they're all so different, and I love them for different reasons. I always say my number one is probably New Zealand.
Ah, of
Um,
course.
yeah, I loved it down there.
Yeah.
Uh, I think I spent about 10 days there. Got to travel most of the country and just absolutely fell in love with it. I mean,
Mm,
it's every landscape that you want, and it's all beautiful. The people are really friendly. Yeah, there's so much you can do, and if you want to get away from people, you can do that there too. But you do have the
yeah.
big cities. Yeah, you got everything there, and I definitely would go back, and I could see myself living there for sure.
What was like your favourite spot in New Zealand? Do you think?
Oh man, I really loved traveling across the South Island. I think seeing Mount Cook
Mount Cook.
what
Yeah.
was amazing. The lakes that are there
Mm.
as you're driving out there are just stunning. I mean, you got the lupins that are growing around the lakes, and the lake is like almost white because it's just so cold and
Yeah.
running off the mountains there. That was a magical place for sure.
Yeah, that scene of Mount Cook over the lake, there's like a car
Yeah,
park and there's like a little church there and stuff. You look over the lake, pretty spectacular. South Island is something else.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
But I mean, really any place there. I loved the like Rotorua area.
oh yeah,
Um,
North
that
Island.
was
Yeah,
beautiful. And I got to see uh, the glowworms that are there. I don't remember exactly where those are at. I think it's
Waitomo,
Waitomo. Yeah,
Waitomo
yeah,
Caves. Yeah,
yeah. That was really cool as well. That was a very unique experience too.
yeah. I think if you can get half a day, I think someone should go to Waitomo Caves and just walk through them and have a
Yeah,
look. Maybe half day is a bit too long, but it's a magical sight. Have to
yeah.
do it.
Well worth the stop for sure.
Yeah, and can Americans get work visas in New Zealand?
Hmm.
You can.
Yeah, I think New Zealand, Australia for sure,
Okay.
and I think a few places in Europe too.
Yeah. Do Americans go to these countries for work visas much, or is it still like an unknown thing?
I would guess that it's probably not as popular as people from the UK and
Yeah.
Canada going there. I know Americans have done it. I've talked with some who
Hmm.
have done that. But it's definitely not super common by any means, which is sad.
Yeah, it's a golden opportunity for a year just to work a
Yeah,
bit and travel a bit in an amazing
yeah.
country.
I'm honestly thinking, hey, I might as well do that now. I still have a chance to do it, so
Yeah, I do send podcasts if you're. I'm too old now to get them, and I've had them as well. Even though there's changed the rules, but different story. But yeah, if you're before 31 or 35, depending on the country you're from, it's a golden opportunity to just go and travel and work for a year in a different country.
yeah, for sure. I'm running out of time, but I could still do it, so that
Yeah,
might happen.
yeah, yeah. I did meet someone from Washington in Australia. Actually, he got a work visa in Australia just to go and surf, so he could
Oh
work
wow,
work for a bit, and then surf. That's all he's doing.
that's the dream.
Yeah, yeah, that absolute dream, right? Yeah, he's a pretty cool guy.
Uh,
Okay, what about a second country?
yeah, second country. I think I would pick Guatemala for some of the reasons I mentioned already.
Mm,
It was really impactful to be there. Everyone was so friendly. Honestly, it's a beautiful country. We got to explore a lot. Got to go to Antigua, uh, Panajachel, in different parts of Western Guatemala. I remember we in Panajachel we zip lined above this town, and there's this huge lake there, and then on the opposite side are these three volcanoes that are sticking out, and you're just zip lining like above the forest, above the town, and you're just staring at this lake and volcanoes in the background, and it was just so magical.
oh,
um that was a great view, a great day.
God, I mean,
um
what when you look at Guatemala on like Google, for example, picture's incredible.
yeah, yeah, I definitely would want to go back and explore more of the eastern side and some of the like the Mayan ruins out there.
Mm,
It's I think it's pretty different on the eastern side compared to the west. The west is much more mountainous and lakes and stuff like that. The east is very flat.
okay.
And then I would say for a third country, I just recently went to Cuba earlier this year.
Ah,
Um,
that's great. Okay, far away because I've got some questions. We might go there in November, so yeah,
okay,
keen to
yeah,
hear this.
highly recommend. It is definitely not the all the negative things that we
Yeah.
might hear. I absolutely loved it. The most friendly people I've ever met traveling. Old Town Havana is such a fun place. There's so much, honestly, really fascinating to see a lot of kind of old uh the old Cuba. You
Mm,
can you can really see like the different eras of Cuba's history
got it.
all in the same area together. You got the very old like imperial type of structures and stuff like that, and then you have the under the dictatorship rule there. and under the Castros, and then you have like some of this modern stuff that has come in, and it's all just right next to each other and melted together, and it's such a fascinating country. Really, really wild history,
Yeah.
and yeah, I would go back in a heartbeat for sure.
How long were you there for?
We were there a week, which was a good time to be there. If you want to go explore elsewhere in the country, that's a lot harder to do. But I would have loved to, kind of drive along the coast and see more of the country outside of the Havana area. But if I need more time.
I think that's the challenge of us. I think I do want to stay like 3 weeks, and then obviously Havana's a must, and you will see it because you fly into there. But I want to see or try to get to other areas of the country. That would be pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, I definitely would go back and try to do that. It might be different for Canadians and British people, but for Americans, I think you have to be with like some sort of tour guide to be able to do that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's
I
not the
don't
same
think you
for
can
us.
just, yeah, I don't think you can just go and be a tourist per se.
Yeah,
We have like I had to fill out a visa and basically say that I'm going there to support the Cuban people.
yeah.
I wasn't there for tourism, even though that's why I was there. But
Fair, fair.
which is still supporting, the people
Of
because
course. Yeah, yeah.
we're bringing our money there and everything. But yeah, they said that we couldn't just like go hang out at the beach, kind
Fair.
of thing.
Admittedly, I've not looked into that, but I don't think it's the same for UK people to be
Yeah,
part of a tour. A lot of people do go on a tour anyway because it's just a bit easier logistically, I think, for Cuba. But I want to see how you can do it. Be quite interesting.
yeah. I think you could do it solo or just you and a partner. It might be a little bit difficult. I enjoyed having a local tour guide. His name was Ivan. He was awesome.
Mm.
Highly recommend him. And he just made it so much easier to get around. Plus, he knew everyone in
Yeah,
Havana somehow, and so
yeah.
he was just like, "Hey," like hooking us up with everything, and he had all the ins to everything we wanted to do and see. So it worked out really well.
And did you need Spanish?
It's definitely it was nice having Ivan there, who obviously is from there and could speak Spanish very well. A lot of people could speak English to some extent,
Okay.
especially the younger people. We could get by with each other.
Yeah,
Many of the older generations, it was you needed to have Spanish to talk to them.
yeah. And was it fairly cheap?
Yeah, very cheap.
Okay.
Um, Everything is very inexpensive there. Man, I don't even know if I spent $400 the entire week, and that's including like buying a lot of mojitos and
Oh yeah, yeah,
different,
yeah.
Cuban cigars and stuff like that. Um, Everything was very inexpensive.
Wow. Okay. And someone told me you do need cash because I don't think the ATMs work that much or at all.
Yeah, cash is king. Definitely did not have access to my debit or credit cards down there.
Yeah.
It might. I know there's some banks that you can get through down there.
Mm.
I think they're like German banks or Russian banks. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely recommend cash for sure.
Lovely. And how was the coffee in like Havana, for
Uh,
example?
yeah, coffee was great. Every morning started with an espresso.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it down there, especially if you paired it with cigar and then
yeah.
a little Cuban rum and then a little coffee at the end.
Cool. Dream.
Yeah, that was perfect.
Cuban lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really high on my list. I think we will try and do it this year after a road trip, depending on timings. Because I
Yeah,
think
highly recommend.
the hurricane season will just about finish, so I think we can get away with it in November. Yeah, looks amazing. Excited about that. That's great to hear. Cuba looks a great country, and again, there's another country that needs to be talked about because sometimes there's
Mm,
negative connotations, but everyone I speak to loves it.
yeah, I didn't meet anyone there who hated the U.S. at all. Everyone loved America. I feel like it's beginning to change a lot more. I know the U.S. changed, like kind of lifted some of the restrictions
Mm,
when Obama was president. And so it's beginning to change and open up more. And obviously, Fidel passed away, and I think Raul is close to passing away or something. I don't know, but
right.
you can see that especially the younger generation, now that they're coming into age and everything, that life is beginning to change there, and things are starting to open up a lot more. And yeah, like I said, the friendliest people that I've ever met.
Mm,
I felt 100% safe the entire time, no issues.
yeah,
Everyone was more than welcoming.
that's awesome to hear. That's great. Okay, and what's next for your travels? Like later this year, going into next year?
Yeah. So I have a big one coming up. I am going to in November. I am trekking to Everest Base Camp.
Oh, you're doing it, are you?
Um,
You're going for it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that will be.
Wowzers.
I think altogether it's about 3 weeks
Yeah,
that it takes to get up and down. So that's gonna be a really fun adventure. I'm excited for that.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then when I come back from that, on my way back, I'm planning to have to transfer through Doha, so I'm going to spend a couple days there, and then probably go down to Dubai, and then go through probably Central Europe on the way home.
Yeah.
So knock off a few other countries, explore a little bit more to add on to the trip since I am going so far away. But that one I'm really looking forward to. It should be a blast.
And how long is that trip in total?
Altogether, it's going to be about a month.
Nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Good amount of time because it is quite far. Moving here, you realize how far Nepal and India is. It's just like the other
Oh
side
my
of the
gosh.
world.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think from Seattle to Doha, it's like 15 hours, and then it's another 5 hours from Doha to
Yeah.
Kathmandu.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be amazing. But a local in Langtang was telling me, no, this is better than base camp. Don't go to base camp. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, here in Langtang, the weather is constantly great in the morning. So he said, if you're out by 5 or 5:30 for sunrise, at least until 1 p.m., you're going to get clear skies, snow-capped mountains, whatever. He said Everest, it can change really quickly and the area is not
Yeah,
as defined for its weather. I said, oh, but you still get to see Everest, I think. Like,
yeah,
one good day in the base camp area, that's great.
hmm
I think,
yeah.
yeah, a bit of rivalry there, but I think he's kind of joking. But yeah, it looks incredible.
My fear is that when I go, so I really have no desire to actually climb Everest.
Oh no,
Um,
yeah,
but my fear is that when I get there, I'm gonna be like, oh, it's not that far. I could do that. uh, that's just the way that my mind works. Once I achieve something, I'm like, I could probably do more.
yeah,
Just keep pushing to crazier and crazier heights.
yeah. Just another 3,000 meters to go. Yeah,
Yeah,
up. Yeah,
there's only a bunch of dead bodies on the way up, but
yeah. I know. Yeah, not
be
much to
fine.
see. Yeah, yeah. It'd be easy. Just walk up. Have you been to Kathmandu before?
Nope, nope, never been. Yeah, haven't got to go to that. Haven't got to go to India and Nepal yet.
Okay. Well, the tourist area is Tamil in Kathmandu. It's full of
Okay,
like local shops and restaurants and your espresso coffee shops if you need it and stuff like
there
that.
we go.
It's a mix.
Yeah,
Um,
you'll have to send me those afterwards,
yeah,
since you were just there.
yeah.
Get some good recommendations.
And I assume you've booked a guide for your tour.
Yeah, so I'm going with a few other people that I know locally, and then yeah, we have a guide that one of the ladies I'm going with knows very well.
Cool, that's good. Because that is a must in Nepal, but in that area they're not actually enforcing it. So the rule changed this year because previously to April you could just go up and do any trek on your own,
Oh wow.
and then April 1st this year they said no, you've got to have a guide with you, but they haven't really enforced it on the ground. Langtang, you don't need it. You could probably get away with it, but it's a risk because they're technically
Yeah.
enforcing it. But in the base camp area, Everest area, they're like, no, we don't agree with it. We're not going to enforce it. So it's like to and
Yeah.
fro in between the government and local guides and people. So it's interesting. But I think for
Yeah.
base camp, you'd want a local or guide. Um,
Yeah,
such a
I would. I
yeah,
think just to learn about some of the
yeah,
local culture and traditions and stuff, I would love to, yeah, just have a guide there who's local.
yeah. I think that's a good choice.
Going back to Cuba really quick, that's kind of how a lot of Cuba is. Like, there's a lot of laws and regulations and things in place that are all on the books, but not really enforced that much.
Yeah, hard and soft rules. My friend called it.
Yeah,
He lives in
yeah,
Spain. I think he says the same
yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
So, oh, that's great. And anything in 2024?
Yeah, I've traveled with a group called FTLO. recently. The last few international trips I've done, including Cuba, and I've made some really good friends from that. And so we've all kind of stayed in touch over the last 9 months since we've first met each other in Morocco,
Hmm.
and we're all planning to go to Jordan in I want to say October 2024. I don't remember the exact dates. So that should be a blast. That's another country I've really wanted to go to for a long time.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll get to knock out some other ones in that area like Egypt or something like that along the
Yeah.
way.
That's great. Yeah, we spent 2 weeks in Jordan this year, and that was incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like basically doing all the trips that I want to go on. I'm like, I'm just gonna follow this guy around.
It's just been a big year. Yeah,
Yeah.
there was nothing much previous years, but yeah, this year's been big for that. I'm just finishing my blog on Jordan actually. That's quite a big itinerary. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and
I'll have to take a look at that.
we done it ourselves. We didn't do any tour, but you can do either there. The funniest people and most welcoming as well. All speak English. All want to make sure you see the best spots. So yeah, it's a fantastic way to go and start in the Middle East if you've not been there before. For anyone else who's listening.
Yeah, love it. I'm excited.
Yeah, great time to go October, just after the summer, so it won't be too hot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess other like smaller trips. One of my goals now that I've traveled to all 50 states in the US is to travel to all of the national parks.
Ah, yeah,
And so I think I have like 40 to go. So I'm working on hopefully this year I'll be able to knock out a few more, and then 2024 I'll try to do a few more of them.
okay,
So some more US travel as well.
that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, get those ticked off. Every state, it's a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. I didn't expect to do it so soon, but opportunities presented themselves and took
Yeah,
advantage.
that is the mantra of travel. I think take advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So we're gonna delve into your podcast because I guess some of the questions kind of relate to that. So your podcast, our Travel Experiences podcast, tell listeners what it's about and how often do you release an episode? Is it guests or solos? And yeah, what do you talk about?
Yeah, definitely. So, our travel experiences podcast, I started it just to, have something like what you're doing right here is, just kind of talk travel with friends and family and anyone who wants to share their travel stories. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like I have a responsibility to share the world with others, and so I wanted to create a platform for that.
Mm,
I think also, having been on a lot of these trips and seeing a lot of different places, I really have struggled over the years with coming home and, being around people who haven't traveled.
yeah.
It's hard to try to relate to someone that hasn't traveled. And so I wanted to find a community of people that have had some similar experiences, who know what it's like. And so, yeah, I started the podcast at the start of 2022, and I release an episode every Wednesday, usually every Wednesday morning, West Coast time. Every fifth episode, I do a solo episode. That's usually one of my experiences, but the other four episodes are guests. Some of them are like really close friends or family members. Some like you, I meet on Instagram and I'm like, this guy looks really cool. It looks like he's done
Good.
some amazing travels. I'd love to talk to him. Um, and so, yeah, it's fun. There's no really structure to it. Some people have, themes like their Instagram is all about like
Mm,
hiking in the mountains. And so we just
yeah.
focus on that. Or maybe it's all like one specific country or something.
Hmm.
And so we'll just kind of focus on one topic if that's the case. But yeah, it's a blast. It's fun. I get to meet people like you. So it's a real fun experience.
Yeah. How's it been in terms of like the admin? Has it been tough? Has it been a lot of work?
It was more work than I was expecting getting into it, but it's not too bad. I really should do probably like more marketing and structure behind it, but
Mm,
it's honestly it's just a fun thing to do. It's
yeah.
fun to talk about. And I would say at this point, I'm almost 80 episodes into it. I have kind of the system down that works really well and fits with everything else I have going on in my life. So yeah, I think it's good, but I'm always looking to find new and exciting ways to make the podcast happen and make it bigger.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Keep doing it. It's great to see because a lot of podcasters do stop. I don't want to say give up, but they just stop because it's tough. Time, effort, maybe not seeing the figures that you want to see of how many people listen. You can get bogged down by those stats, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I know when I first started, I heard a stat that was like most podcasts stop after 7 episodes or something like that.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I'm gonna just try to get more than seven.
Yeah, yeah, that's the first
uh,
step. Yeah,
yeah. And I think what really helped at the start was I banked a lot of episodes.
yeah,
So I,
key.
I think I had maybe like 5 recorded before I even released the first one.
Mm.
So I had kind of a head start and I didn't have to worry about, oh shoot, I need to get an episode out this week. I need to find someone really quick. I have gone through that at various points throughout this journey,
Yeah,
but that I could see that being really difficult to keep up with. But if you get ahead of the game, I think it's really manageable.
yeah, head of the game is key. I've actually struggled to keep head of the game traveling. That's actually quite hard to do.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
like guest episodes because they're like a nightmare to arrange. You got like today, for example, we had like a date booked and I couldn't do it because I was camping and no Wi-Fi, and I had to like try
yeah.
and figure out where I'm going to be with a good signal. So it is challenging.
That's always the hard part. Is like I don't know if I'm gonna have Wi-Fi access like during this time, so
Yeah,
like we'll see if it happens. It's also like the time differences between places. It can be really
mm.
hard.
Yeah, okay. And alongside that, you released a book. So tell us about that.
Yeah, yeah. So, gosh, a lot of these things kind of happened all at once. They all just kind of like built together. So I always had this dream of writing. Like one of my life goals was to become a published author.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like my freshman or sophomore year of college. Like one night, just like I was thinking about travel and like planning trips and stuff like that, and I kind of started shaping this idea of writing a like travel advice book, but having it be kind of really general and looking at different aspects of travel while also implementing my stories as the examples.
Mm.
Um, and so I just like I had sort of an outline of like thing or different topics that I figured I would put in the book, and did nothing with it for 8 years.
Wow.
um, and then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and that changed a lot of things in my life. That's did for most people. It shut down travel for the most part, and when it started opening back up, it was I think September 2021
Mm.
when I was able to travel internationally again for the first time since COVID happened. I went on that trip to Italy. Just really, really loved it. Met a lot of great people on that trip. It really motivated me. I was like, you know what? Life is too short. Obviously, we see that with this pandemic, like nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Now's the time to do this if I want to make it happen. I also have no other responsibilities. I have no kids, no spouse. This is the time to try to do this. And so I came back home from that trip and was super motivated. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. And so every day my goal is to write 500 words. And some days I didn't actually hit that. Some days I wrote 2,000 words. Um, but I was just consistent with every day I'm going to put something on the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say like February of 2022, I had basically, had written the book. I was probably 45,000 words into it. And it just so happened that like I had just started the podcast because I was thinking about travel all the time, so I was writing and just was like I want to talk about it too. But then I met this local author here in Yakima, and she had published. I think she was in the middle of publishing her fourth book at the time, not about travel at all, but it was just perfect timing that I was like, I'm getting close to being done with this. Like, I pretty much have said all that I wanted
Mm.
to say. Now I need to figure out. I have no idea how you actually publish a book. And so I met with her. Her name's Ellen. She kind of walked me through. She's like, "Yeah, this is my process. This is what it's kind of like. This is how it all works." And that was really, really helpful for me. And so I started, looking into the publishing process. I sent the manuscript. I sent it to one publisher, I think down in California, and they like had this whole laundry list of things you have to put together. It was really annoying. But the second publisher I sent it to, they were just like, send us your manuscript and we'll get back to you. So I was like, okay, well, that's easy. I can just
Yeah.
email it to them. So I emailed that to them, and then I was about to go to Colombia. And so I flew down to Colombia and had been there for a couple days in Bogota. And I was traveling from Bogota to Cartagena, and I was in the airport. My flight got delayed, and I was like, okay, I have some time. I can start sending to other publishers. Ellen told me that it was probably going to take, sending it to 25,
Yeah.
30 publishers before you get accepted, maybe more. I was in the middle of sending it to that third publisher, and I got an email from the second one that I had sent it to, and they said, "Hey Kyle, we'd love to have you as part of our portfolio. We love the book. Let's set up a time to meet." All this logistical stuff, and so I'm by myself in the Bogota airport, uh, on the ground, just looking like an idiot. I'm like, I'm over there, like, yeah, let's go,
Yeah.
like, all excited. I'm sure everyone was like, "What is wrong with this guy?" Uh, so then it was really crazy because I was in Colombia for like a week and a half, and then I was in Panama. And so like during those like 2 weeks, I was like emailing the publisher back and forth, like trying to talk about contract and process and all of that. They sent the contract over, and as I was getting back into the US, I was able to sign that contract, and we started the publishing process. And so that's been a whole other journey. That's been really fun and stressful to go through as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, officially February of this year, 2023, that book was published, and now it's out and for sale on basically everywhere. I got the audiobook version up too, which is really fun. And yeah, just actually last week or about maybe 2 weeks ago now, I hit 100 copies sold.
Oh, congrats.
So super exciting. It's been a really, really fun journey.
And what's the book called?
It's called Travel Tips, a 20-something's comprehensive guide for traveling in the modern world. I think it's a fun book. I think people who haven't traveled at all would get the most out of it because
Mm.
it is basic, like, planning for a trip. Like, here's some tips and tricks, or, like, driving, like, here's some things to think about, or flying. There's so much to think about flying. But I think anyone would enjoy it. I definitely wanted to incorporate the modern perspective. So, I'm talking about credit cards and Uber and,
Mm.
using Google Maps and things like that along your trip as well. And then it's got, pictures and stories and stuff in it. So I think it's a lot of fun.
That's great. I'll put the link in the show notes so people can
Yeah.
access that and hopefully buy it. That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I need to sell a lot more to break even on this book, but
I guess that's part of the contract, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't expecting to make any money. I was happy that,
It's published.
something that was a big thing for me to do in my life, what happened, at 26 years old.
Yeah, yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, that's a great achievement. That congratulations.
Thank you.
And where can people find yourself for either the book or the podcast in terms of website or social media?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram mainly, and that's Our Travel Experiences Podcast. Um, I have a website, ourtravelexp.com. Trying to think. I don't really use a lot of other social media. I should. Haven't got on the Threads trend yet, but I'm gonna look into that. Yeah, and then people can email me, ourtravelexperiences@outlook.com. Or just, yeah, if you find me on Instagram, that's the best place. I'll definitely respond to you on there.
In terms of blogging, you do release a blog as well, right?
Yeah, so I have a monthly newsletter.
That's it.
So people can sign up for that. If you message me, send me your email, I'll put you on that list. That has different links to, I have a few different like affiliations, that people can sign up for discounts and
Yeah.
different links. And then I do blog a little bit. I'm not super consistent with it. I should be better with that, but I do have a blog on my website, and I also have started incorporating more of like just like achieving various goals, like not just travel, but more of like life
Yeah.
coaching type of stuff as well. So I feel like it's kind of expanded in that route as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so we're going to finish the episode on some quickfire travel questions. So these
Okay,
are
I'm
these are
ready.
random and just like what comes into your mind.
Yeah.
Can I start off with a question I didn't ask in the interview, but it's good for now. Hey, yeah, just a quick one. I just want to say there are many ways to support this podcast. You can buy me a coffee and help support the podcast with $5, or you can go to my merch store with the affiliate link with TeePublic, where there's plenty of merch available to buy, such as t-shirts, jumpers, hoodies, and also some children's clothing. Thirdly, which is free, you can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, or Good Pods. Also, you can find me on social media on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Simply just search for Winging It Travel Podcast, and you'll find me displaying all my social media content for travelling, podcast, and other stuff. Thank you. It's travel question time. The most challenging country that you travelled to?
Morocco was actually a lot easier than I expected. It still is on the more difficult side, but you can get around fairly easily there. Getting into Russia and being in Russia, I was super glad to have someone who spoke Russian. Um, that was a very intense border crossing, and I was glad to have someone there who spoke Russian for sure.
Yeah, I think it has to be that then, I think.
Yeah.
Top three countries that you've not travelled to that are next on your hit list that you'd love to go to?
Japan would be in there. Kind of just more of Africa in general. I think Egypt would be amazing, but also getting down to the south. So South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola, those places would be really fun as well. Probably Chile. Yeah.
Great place. Okay. What about top three favourite cuisines that you've
Ooh.
experienced?
I gotta put Italy number one. Italian cuisine. I mean, you can't go wrong. Every place you go is gonna be really good.
Yeah.
Somehow, even with all the walking that I did on that trip in 2021, I still gained weight over there because I was eating
Yeah.
everything in sight. Gelato every night. French cuisine is really good as well. I'm trying to think. I love Asian food. So and I think it's different everywhere you go
Yeah.
to. So traveling around there, I got to try so many different types of food. Some of them I have no idea what the names are, but they were all good. So yeah, Southeast Asia, that was a great spot.
Okay. Which country has the best coffee that you've experienced?
Ah, this is one I love following your trendy coffee
Oh, you follow it?
podcast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge coffee fan, so I
Yeah.
love getting coffee wherever I go. I would say, I mean, I really enjoyed Italy again, France. I would not say the US, unfortunately. Colombia was, well, I would say Colombia.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good choice.
especially I got to go to a coffee farm and learn the entire process and like
Mm.
help with the process. And yeah, that was a lot of fun too.
Okay. And more specifically, if you could pick a city to sit and drink a coffee, where would you sit?
Man, pretty much anywhere like with a good view, like of the water below or anything like that. Actually, one place I did sit and drink coffee and it was amazing was in Tangier, Morocco.
Ah,
Um,
Tangiers.
Perfect view, like early in the morning, we're watching the sunrise over the water, over the Mediterranean, just sipping on some coffee. That was pretty amazing.
Dream. Okay. What
Yeah.
about a favourite beach?
Favorite beach. Oh man. In Maui, I don't know the names anymore. I could
Mm.
I could Google it, but the beaches there are amazing. One of my favorite places in the entire world is Coronado Island in San Diego.
Okay.
Coronado Beach is, I mean, it's nothing like special, but like the sand is perfect. Especially if you watch a sunset there, you can sip a cocktail at the famous hotel there. I love going there. Every time I'm in San Diego, I go there and relax, hang out. It's the best.
Okay. And talking about US, three favourite states that you travelled in.
I'm gonna take Washington out of the equation,
Yeah,
although
you can't include
Washington is,
Washington. Yeah.
yeah, I would definitely put it up there for sure.
Yeah.
But Colorado is number one, probably. Amazing mountains. You have the honestly you have a lot in Colorado. You got the mountains right there. You got the big cities. You got the super small cities in the west, and the very mountainous and regions out west. You got the sand dunes
Mm.
down in southern Colorado, and then you have the Great Plains out to the east. But it's so beautiful from top to bottom there. Number two, I would probably put like New Hampshire or Maine. Honestly,
Ah,
the whole New England
New
area in
England, yeah.
general. Highly recommend going for the fall, seeing the colors changing there. Actually, any time of year, but so beautiful up there. The rolling green hills,
Oh,
um, all the trees everywhere. In Maine, you have the coast, Acadia National Park.
hmm.
Um, just absolutely stunning. And then I would probably say last one, I think California. California has so much to offer.
Yeah.
Um, you have again everything there. You got the big cities, you got Hollywood, you got the bright lights, you got the beach, you got mountains, you have the desert out there, you have really huge forests. I mean, it's pretty wild.
And what about a country that you've not lived in before that you'd live in for a year?
I'd probably say like somewhere in Central America or South America. I could see myself living in Colombia maybe for a year. I really loved Cartagena and that area. Live kind of the island life a little bit, or maybe down in like Argentina or Chile, somewhere down there. And I think that'd be fun to get to be there for a year. And I've always wanted to be good at Spanish.
Same.
It's never stuck in my brain enough. So it'd be fun to just go there and learn Spanish for a year.
That's great. And the last question is, if you could tell someone in one or two sentences why they should travel and the reasons that you should go, what would you say?
Yeah. Gosh, there's so many reasons to travel. I think I really believe that when we travel, we help not only ourselves but the rest of the world. So we help the people that we visit, and then coming home, we help bring a new perspective to our home life. So I think it makes the world smaller in a good way and helps us really see the world for how it truly is, not what we see on the media and things like that. So I think it really helps you appreciate life when you travel. So I think that's why.
That's a fantastic way to end the podcast. So, Kyle, thanks for coming to the podcast. It's been a great travel chat. Nice and easy to talk about some of our favourite places and share some stories. So it's been a really, really nice chat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Amazing how fast the time flew by. We'll definitely have to do this in person over some coffee as well. I
I'll
think that would be a
see you on
blast.
the road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll keep you posted. But that'd be great to do it in person, right? Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you for listening to my Winging It Travel podcast episode today. You can find me on Instagram at James Hammond Travel or Winging It Travel Podcast. You can search for both. I release weekly clips of this podcast episode, as well as photos from the last 8 to 10 years of my travels. You can also follow me on TikTok, Facebook and Pinterest by searching Winging It Travel Podcast. I do release daily content to do with travel and the podcast throughout the week. Also check out my website, jameshammond.org. There's content about myself, my travels, and there's also a newsletter sign up as well as a contact form. Finally, please rate and review the podcast on Podchaser. This is my platform of choice. Alternatively, you can rate this on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts from. This really helps the podcast gain a bit of traction for the future in terms of guests and content. And I'm glad to see that you guys are listening out there, reviewing it and enjoying the content so far. Stay safe, stay humble, keep listening, keep traveling, and I'll catch you soon. Cheers, James.